Our next topic of the day, my first penny. Shush, IGN.
No bets.
Marvel and EA signed 3-game deal starting with Iron Man. This is an IGN article by Ryan Dinsdale. Marvel has entered an agreement with FIFA and Battlefield publisher EA to make Marvel has entered an agreement with FIFA and Battlefield publisher EA to make at least 3 action-adventure video games based on the Marvel comics. As reported by Bloomberg, this deal will begin with the previously announced Iron Man game from EA Motive, with all 3 games coming to consoles and PC. Though details about what's coming after Iron Man are still thin, each game will feature its own original story set in the Marvel Universe. Perhaps known more for its sports or traditional shooter games, EA is looking to increase its offerings with the Marvel deal. Quote, "We have an intentional, deliberate strategy to have a balanced portfolio," said Chief Operating Officer Laura Miley. Quote, "There will be Marvel fans who don't play other EA games. It's unclear if the second or third game will be centered on different Marvel characters like the Hulk or Thor, or there'll be follow-ups to the Iron Man game, similar to what Insomniac did with Spider-Man, its spin-off Miles Morales in an upcoming sequel. Nothing about a release schedule or single versus multiplayer focus was mentioned either, though we do know EA's Motive Iron Man is a, quote, single-player action-adventure game." So, we covered the Iron Man game. We talked about how coming from Star Wars Squadrons or working on the Battlefront 2 space combat mode, expanding into Star Wars Squadrons, expanding into the coming up Dead Space remake, which looks promising, and then into an Iron Man game, their own original story, their own original gameplay, their own original feel. This seems to be a good pathway for Motive, and I think I've been saying it for a little bit now, but I understand it's like trepidatious territory. But I think EA is trying to turn around the public messaging here. I think they're after the Battlefront 2 fiasco. I think they really are trying to turn around and get a better sort of feel for what's coming out and be in more good graces than they have been in the past. I think depending on how this deal executes, I think that this will be another step in that direction if it's executed on correctly. But I think them only being this is different, obviously, than the Star Wars exclusive deal, where it was 10 years, just Star Wars titles, and they ended up putting out like 3 games and a couple of mobile games. Like, who cares? This being hey, we've got 3 games. They're coming. We don't really know a lot of details on them, but we do know one of them will be a single-player action-adventure Iron Man game. That's exciting. And then now you look around at EA's stable, and you go, okay, what else can we do here? I think it being in-house with EA, I believe we talked about it when we first covered the Iron Man story, but, I'm sure Motive can learn some things from Anthem. Anthem very much being hey, this is kind of like an Iron Man game, sort of, we like flying around and shooting and things like that. I'm sure Motive can learn a lot from that, hopefully, if their technology is being shared back and forth and sort of their tactics and codes and so forth. So, I think they'll be able to learn a lot from that. I've got cautiously optimistic hopes for that Iron Man game. I think Motive is stepping up in some really solid ways and slowly, growing into a quality studio. Star Wars Squadrons was a solid title. It looks like Dead Space is going to be good. So I'm just excited to see them continue to grow in this direction. From here, now you got to start scratching your head and wondering. I think Respawn is got their hands full with Apex Legends and then their 3 Star Wars games that they're doing. So they're probably chilling out. BioWare, you assume, also probably got their hands full with Dragon Age and Mass Effect. They really need to lock down and re-establish themselves as a dominant Western RPG front. And I think doing it with traditional IP that they have is a good idea. I think maybe don't hand them the keys to Marvel just yet. And then from there, it gets a little tricky, doesn't it, Connor? Now you got to look around and be like, all right, well, what else can we do? Are the It Takes Two guys doing a Marvel game? What kind of Marvel game could they do? That would be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? If they did maybe I had an idea for it. They like co-op. What do they do? Maybe like an X-Men game? A little bit of X-Men for the It Takes Two guys. That could work. I could see. Yeah, Connor, go ahead. How are you feeling? Where are you going? I like this. I think it's great. I think it's good that it's not exclusive, and then we're getting more than just Insomniac titles that are of quality. And then I think we've had some ups, we've had some downs in the last couple of years. I think now we're going to find a good middle ground of like, hey, these are quality titles.
Yeah, well, I hope they're good quality titles. I'm especially looking forward to now that we're gonna shift from an oversaturation of Marvel films to an oversaturation of video games. It's gonna be so fun. I'm gonna love the discourse surrounding it.
I mean, the joy about it is that every Marvel film looks and feels the same.
Yes,
That- yeah, except for recently, But video games are different.
yeah, which is the happy part of this. Even though I'm gonna be annoyed to hell by all the dumbass Marvel fans bothering the hell out of me again. I think overall the game itself they have potential. As you said, it's all up to EA, balls in their court to actually make games that resonate with people. Because you mentioned Squadrons. It seems like a good game. Seems like people liked it, but it obviously didn't hit this big space. Not a lot of people were talking about it. Which I'm struggling to remember how many big games EA's making that I'm constantly looking forward to. They obviously make games, but they never have as much of an impact as they used to. Obviously, they have certain IPs that are still big, but it's nice for them to actually, even if it is Marvel stuff, which I don't inherently dislike at all. I'm happy that we're actually going to get more video games and see if there's if the potential in those games can actually be put to good use. Because it is surprising that there's not as many Marvel video games right now when you consider the film landscape and how successful those have been doing. So
they're coming.
Yeah. They're finally coming now. It took long enough. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. I hope they're different. Because as you said before, obviously I think they will be. Because it's different studios, it's different teams that are going to be making these new Marvel video games. So that's the best I can hope for right now. I'd like to see more unique concepts. Not like, 'cause like one of the things they float is Thor. I like Thor, but it'd be kind of weird if they do Iron Man, who's a guy who floats around and flies around and does stuff, and then goes to another guy who also kind of flies around and does stuff. And I want them to be more diverse with what they're choosing to adapt. Like we got Wolverine coming out. That's a nice, interesting spin away from Spider-Man, who's this friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and now we're going to a grizzled guy who cuts people up with his iron claws. That kind of gap in types of characters that Marvel has, because there's tons of Marvel characters. Mm-hmm. I hope it's put to the fullest extent that it can be, rather than just going with, we're gonna have Captain America, and then we're gonna have who's the other big popular one? Yeah, Thor. I said, yeah, we'll do Thor, which I wouldn't be opposed to, but hopefully they make it interesting. Yeah, but I think I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to what these games would play like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, and I think you make a good point. Like, we are excited for Wolverine, one, because we know Insomniac is a really great and quality studio that has had their hands dipped into melee combat type action adventure games forever. You think of Ratchet and Clank, you think of Sunset Overdrive, you think of Spider-Man, and you go, yeah, no, that's a quality team. Like that team knows what they're doing, and the breadth of fresh air that Wolverine will provide from Spider-Man specifically, being the more acrobatic gymnast type, we're running through, we're doing all these air combos and stuff. Wolverine very much being, I'm grounded. I'm on the ground. I gotta bust out, this, instead of more, kicks and punches, it's just swipes. Like, he's a brawler, and he's messy and dirty, So that's what's inherently interesting about that. I agree with you. I think it would be kind of boring if we just jump from Iron Man straight to like a Thor, though I think a Thor game would provide its own kind of spectacle, especially if they take notes from the recent God of War or something in terms of presentation or so forth. Multiplayer titles, I assume, are going to be itching their way in there somewhere. Who knows? I think EA has been itching for its own games of service game for a while, though granted the Avengers game, the Square Enix Marvel's Avengers, might have put a bad taste in people's mouths in terms of superheroes and games of service, but we'll have to wait and see and find out for that. I think it's of course these games are going to get a lot of attention, so we're going to see big titles from them, but I think it's more interesting that Motive has the first game coming out. Haze Light, of It Takes Two and A Way Out. We don't know what they're doing right now. What are they doing right now? I'm sure in order to strike up this deal, they had to have some kind of tech demo or something of like, hey, we're working on this. Can we make a game out of it or something? What that could be, I'm not quite sure. I'm scratching my head trying to think. Maybe like a Fantastic Four game from Hazelight. That would be interesting. You think of, sort of the stretchy mechanics and things that happened in It Takes Two and how that could translate to um, Mr. Fantastic or The Thing or, maybe some Human Torch or Sue Storm. You never know. That would be an interesting concept. And I think, that's Marvel's first family. That's Marvel's biggest family. Like, I think off of the story writing credits that we had in It Takes Two, I think it could be interesting to see what they do with Fantastic Four in that way. There's been a rumored Black Panther open world game forever. I don't think that's the what are they called? What is Aiming Henning's studio?
I cannot remember.
Sundance.
Oh, okay.
Sundance Entertainment. With their, Captain America crossover Black Panther. I don't think that takes a Black Panther open world off the table. Like, Black Panther open world could be in this deal, by one of their studios. We'll have to wait and see for that. Doctor Strange has been a much requested hero for a while. Daredevil has been a much requested hero for a while for a video game and so forth. So, there's plenty of opportunity, and all of these heroes play and act differently. Daredevil's a little closer to Spider-Man, but you look at Daredevil as a character, and then you look at the Batman Arkham games, and you look at Spider-Man, and you go, "There's no reason we don't have this." You think of Black Panther, and you think of, again, Batman, and you think of, you know, I'm struggling to think of something cool. I don't know. Saints Row. Some of the power stuff that we had in Saints Row. I'm pulling random shit. And you go, oh, I can see how this could work, And I'll say Black Panther in Avengers Assemble played kind of cool. Like, it was kind of fun being him. It'd be interesting to see where else we could pull from. And then what's cool about comics is that it doesn't have to be the same thing every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we do have, a breadth of like multiverse things to pull from and different ideas. And comic readers often are super cool with seeing a new take on their favorite characters. It's why something like Miles Morales worked so well, is because you went, oh, okay, let's do that. Or, like, there's 100 different types of Spider-Man. The multiverse in Spider-Man is so tied together. Maybe we see Spider-Man title come out of this. I think that's a bad idea. But because Insomniac is fucking killing it. You don't want to be compared to that, especially if you're not up to snuff. But, there's a lot of different ways that we could take this. And, much like how I wish Star Wars would creep into different genres, Marvel games kind of do that. At least they do that a little better. We do see a lot of action adventure in that, but we see the open worlds. We see, we've got Midnight Suns coming with a card game right now. We see Marvel Snap on phones, which is, currently in my top 10 for the year. I spent over 3 hours playing Marvel Snap last night, Connor. It was a great time. I had a great time. I got my Spider-Man back. The backs of my cards are now Spider-Man.
Yeah, I saw you post about that.
Also, Connor, they're adding a PvP mode.
There's not already?
No, there's not. I mean, it's like random matchmaking, but like now I could invite you. Remember we talked about this in the review.
Yeah. Well,
come over to the dark side, Connor.
It's
come
not
over.
I have to pay for it.
You don't have to pay for it.
No, I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to keep saying that so I don't have to.
It's a free game. You can play. That's play it as much as you want.
No, you can't. That's my excuse, Tavin. Let me have it.
You don't even get that much of a booster for buying the battle pass. Like, I'm still getting my ass kicked sometimes. Though last night, probably like 8 out of 10 games I won last night. I played more than 10 games, but I'm just giving you a ratio that you'll understand. Like, I won 80%. I'm kicking ass right now in Marvel Snap. Let me tell you what, I'm having a good ass time.
You gotten over your hump, huh?
Yeah, I was in the dumps for a little while, but now I'm in a good place. Anyways, Connor, anything else to add on Marvel and EA game deal here?
Not particularly. I mean, it's a ways off. So when it comes, it comes. If it's good, it's good. Yeah, actually, I guess the only other thing is, since it will come later on down the line, it'll be nice to have the separation from the old Marvel characters that we all know and we were raised with, at least in both of our cases. So it'll be nice to see the separation of that, of right now, and how we think about those characters and years down the line. I don't know if it'll do anything, but like I said, I'm interested in seeing how it forms.
Indeed, yeah. And then just as a general thing, are you interested in this Iron Man game from Motive at all?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the concept itself isn't like drawing me in, but I have no reason to say it's gonna be bad, or I think it's going to be bad. So I'll wait and hold off my opinion until I see gameplay or I see some kind of trailer that hypes it up properly or whatnot.
I'm gauging my excitement based on how Dead Space comes out.
Mm-hmm.
If Dead Space comes out right and it feels good and good to play and stuff, especially in the 0G segments. That in combination with their work from Star Wars Squadrons, with their ancillary, help from EA, from BioWare with Anthem. I think this could be a bit of a sleeper hit. But
Could be.
well, I just need to see a little more. I need to see a little more before I decide the quality of the studio and where we're getting from this title.